Good morning, everybody. My name is Cherisse. Welcome to my channel. So today I wanted to touch on paranoia. It is something that I have dealt with a lot, especially in recent years. And first of all, I just want to start off the video by saying that my videos are in no way a replacement for actually getting real help for your mental health problems. I still recommend that people get therapy, and even if you need to take medication, like I have been against medication for years, and I'm at a point where my mental health has become such a struggle to function in a normal life that I am at the point where I am actually considering getting on medication. I'm currently actually in the process myself of getting into therapy. I just got medical insurance here in Utah, and I literally just got my medical card in the mail. So now I am about to search where I can get therapy with my Medicaid insurance. So I have been wanting to do that this week. I am still hoping that I get that done this week, but I have been so overwhelmed and dealing with a lot of panic attacks. Last night I had a really bad one. Definitely not my worst panic attack I've had since moving here a couple months ago, but definitely one of my worst. Yeah, so back to the topic of this video. I have been dealing with a resurgence of, I don't know if you want to call it a paranoid episode or what. Let's just call it the resurgence of intense paranoia and social anxiety. So I have dealt with this for, I would say, a long time. I would say like it has most massively influenced my life over the past few years, but especially in like the last year, I have had much more of an issue with it kind of controlling my life and my ability to create and keep relationships in it. So for about the past week, I have been dealing with this uprising of paranoia again and fear of people, and I am grateful that I am a very self-aware person, because it does allow it to, well, it does disallow it to gain too much control of my life. So I'm grateful. I have like one friend that I will open up to her a bit about some of the paranoia that I experience. I honestly do not talk to most people about the paranoid thoughts that do go through my head, but one thing that I have been really looking into myself around this, because when it comes to my mental health issues, and I just want you guys to know, I am not looking for advice with these videos on mental health, and I realize that a lot of you are still going to give your unsolicited advice to me, and I am just gonna have to move through those personal triggers, but I would kindly ask that you keep your advice to yourself. I am not searching for advice on here. I am looking to get into therapy specifically so I can have a professional to help me with that. But yeah, feel free to share about your own experiences though. Like, I do want this to be a safe place for other people who are on their own healing journey. But please just keep your advice to yourself, and that's all I'm gonna say for now. But anyway, I have become very self-aware about my mental health issues and the fact that each of my problems and issues that I go through are triggered from deeper states inside of me, deeper wounds, old wounds that still need healing and kind of to be faced. So when I go through these types of experiences, whether it's anxiety, depression, paranoia, or whatever it might be, I realize that there is generally a deeper root to that, and I want to find out what it is. So with this paranoid episode, I've really been like looking at why where does this come from? And I recognize that a bit of it, like, it stems from many experiences that I've had in my life. I've dealt with an extensive amount of bullying since I was extremely young. I would say since I was about 4 or 5 in kindergarten. And I'll go back to that, but ever since then, as a child to a teenager to even in my 20s, I'm 29 now, I have dealt with so much bullying and people spreading lies about me, people speaking badly about me behind my back, people that I loved, people who were friends and that I was close to, just being stabbed in the back, just so many kind of traumatizing experiences, as well as abusive relationship and mental, emotional abuse with friends as well as lovers. So there are so many experiences that I understand that tie into this, and I do think that I am a highly intuitive, sensitive person. So oftentimes I might feel somebody's switch in energy towards me, and because of how sensitive I am, though, this is something that I have been noticing in myself and reminding myself of, and one of my affirmations for this is that I am a healthy sensitive. I think that oftentimes when you are a highly sensitive person, oftentimes that little switch that you sense in people or in the atmosphere, whatever it might be, sometimes the switches are very mild and it's not as re-traumatizing or as bad as the experiences that you've been through in the past, but your brain kind of like goes back to those old experiences, those old very negative experiences, and immediately projects all that pain into this situation now, even if the situation now is so much more mild or calmer, or not even in comparison to that. Just that slight little energy switch can really make you like go down this rabbit hole of anxiety and paranoia about people. So that's kind of the place that I've been in right now. I've been experiencing a lot of paranoia about my coworkers, my managers, as well as a new friend that I have in my life, and some other people. So I recognize the triggers, and I even recognize like where they kind of came from. Like I can look back on like the friendship and be like, okay, I can think of a friend group that has a similarity to this friendship that was extremely traumatizing in the way that they treated me. It triggered a massive amount of abandonment issues, and I felt very bullied and just completely rejected by this group. And I realized that a big part of that is like I'm reliving that old experience and those old triggers and those old emotions in this brand new experience. So I've been very aware of this for like the past month, and so that's like good that I'm aware of it, but it has increasingly gotten worse, the paranoia, and it's gotten to a point where I have become severely reclusive, and I no longer want to speak to this person because of the fear and what my mind is telling me about this relationship and where it's headed, and that it's going to repeat this, but it's going to be even worse than what happened in the past. And I can recognize that these are stories that my mind is telling me, even if I also have to recognize that I am not just crazy. There are little truths that my mind and I am picking up on, little distinct factors within this new relationship and within this person that are triggering me. So I'm not just crazy. I'm not just making things up. I recognize that there are certain things that are triggering this old emotion and this behavior. So I have plenty of reason to be feeling this fear and this withdrawal, but at the same time, it's like my mind is taking that and running out this whole story of how this is going to be a massive traumatized ending. And while that might be true, like, I am all about validating emotions and feelings in my video. So while that very possibly might be true, anything is possible. Living in fear is not the best mode of living, and it's a torturous cycle to be in, to just constantly be terrified of people based off of tiny triggers. So the more self-aware that you can become, the more that you can recognize that you might be projecting past things onto this new situation, the more growth you're able to create in yourself. I might find that at some point maybe I will feel comfortable enough to express this to her, that I have these fears and I am going through this. But at this exact moment, I do not necessarily feel that level of comfortability yet, as well as I think something that kind of comes along with paranoia when it comes to people and kind of like a fear of like rejection and abandonment wounds being triggered is, like, I've had like a couple people be like, why don't you talk to this person or that person about it? I'm like, because I don't think that they'd be honest with me. And so it's like, yeah, I feel like I have to put myself into a more deep state of peace before I can truly confront the situation with this person, because even if they're telling me something that should be like soothing that anxiety and that fear, until I can create a deeper level of peace in myself about accepting that, then I am just going to deeper spiral into paranoia that I am being lied to. I will say I recognize that most of the paranoia that I have been experiencing is around rejection and like rejection wounds and being bullied behind my back, especially, or like major triggers that I have, and it's causing a massive amount of distrust in the relationships in my life, whether close or more distant relationships. I would not say all the relationships. I do have some friends that I actually do not experience pretty much any paranoia about. Sometimes I don't know what to do with that, because I feel like when I experience paranoia only about specific people and not about others, it makes me feel like I'm more right in my paranoia. But you know what? I am trying to heal the paranoia, and I realized that one part about life, and I read this in my book, I believe it's called The Imaginal Realm. I'll write below who it's by, but in this book he talked about how there is no such thing as safety in the world. There's no such thing as safety. There's no way you can guarantee absolute safety all the time. And I'm not saying that to make anybody spiral out more like I'm not safe. Like, I am all about like positive affirmations and reaffirming that you are safe. But the point of that is that you can't live in constant fear. Like, you can, if that's the choice that you want to make for yourself, you definitely can choose to take that route. But the thing is, anything is possible. And that's what a lot of people who experience paranoia are so afraid of, is all the possibilities. But you have to reach a point where you have to allow the possibilities to, you have to allow the negative possibilities to also allow the positive possibilities. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I will say that I am still experiencing paranoia, and I do not necessarily want to come out of the reclusiveness as much, or just like immediately like let the people in that I'm afraid of, because I still am at a place where I do believe that there is quite a bit of truth to the reasons that I am becoming paranoid of them. So this is like, I'm not like a therapist, guys. I'm not going to give you all the answers. A lot of this is talking about my experience and how I am personally dealing with it. And I hope that if this is helpful to somebody else, maybe if it just even makes you feel related to, like, that's kind of my purpose of sharing this. It's not just to give you answers on these are how you get rid of paranoia, because I'm still dealing with this myself. So a couple nights ago, I was really meditating on this because it has been causing me such severe anxiety throughout the day and the night. This paranoia of the certain people in my life that I really had to, I was like, I can't live like this, dude. Like, it is starting to flow into every area of my life. My ability to take care of myself, my ability to take care of my dogs, my ability to socialize and work on, even now I'm at 20 hours a week in my job because I was too overwhelmed by the 28. So I sat with myself and really meditated on it while listening to some binaural beats and some healing frequencies. And I was like, what is the root of this? Because I know it's not just the bullying I received as an adult or a teenager. I was like, I know that there has to be some very, very, very root cause of all of this repetitive thing that I've been through in my life. Why I keep going through these things and why I'm so consistently terrified of it. It had to have happened when I was a very young child. And when I asked that, I just saw this picture of myself in kindergarten in Japan. A little back history: I was born and raised in Japan till I was 8 years old. My parents were missionaries there, Pentecostal missionaries. So I moved to America when I was 8. So I started going to the public Japanese school in kindergarten. So when I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I went through 1st and 2nd grade in elementary school, but I don't remember much of my childhood in Japan. I do have faint memories and some memories of like feelings. I think that I went through so much trauma as a young child being there. It's actually a place I really would love to go visit again, but I know in my heart it's gonna be such a crazy emotional experience because of how much I've blocked out from my childhood and living there. But anyway, my mind went back to being in kindergarten, and like I said, I don't remember much of this time, but one thing that I do remember, and it's a very like strong presence memory type, like a strong feeling of nobody liking me. Like, I'm the only white girl, you know, like, and I think a lot of people who have dealt with racism, especially the Black community, or even like the Mexican or Asian community that would be minorities in certain places, understand this feeling of dealing with racism. And I think that it's pretty rare for people who are white like myself to experience such a massive degree of racism, but I have. So I feel like that makes me feel like I do relate to a lot of other people of different cultures who experience such massive degrees of racism, like here in America or even other countries. But yeah, so that was kind of my childhood in Japan, was dealing with a massive amount of racism from the others in my class. And I just remember, like, I always had one friend, and I remember, like, I had, like, a couple other people who, I guess I would call them friends, but I just remember that there was only a couple other people who were nice to me. And I remember that there was this one girl in kindergarten, and it's crazy that I even remember this much, but there was this one girl who, like, was so mean to me. She was so mean to me all of the time, and I was, like, such a sweet little girl. Like, I just had all the love in my heart. I didn't understand hate whatsoever. Hate was not something that my parents taught. Like, we were all there for love. Like, love was our purpose. And I have this distinct memory of this little girl who was so mean to me all the time. I remember her as, like, being, like, the meanest girl in the class, and she would be, like, the popular kindergartner, I guess. There are those dynamics that young, for sure. But she was, like, I remember she came in one day and she, like, was crying, and I don't know what her home life was like. If a child is that mean, their home life is probably pretty shitty, and they probably deal with a certain amount of abuse in their own home. But this girl came into school one day and she was crying, and my immediate reaction as this 4 or 5-year-old was to go and give her a hug. The girl who was the meanest to me in that entire class, my initial reaction was to go and give this girl a hug and just love on her. And I will say, I remember from that day forward, like, she got way nicer to me, as well as a lot of the class started to become nicer to me. But that is, like, a positive aspect of this memory. But then there is the trauma aspect of being so rejected and bullied by the majority of my peers. And I think that those memories of being bullied in kindergarten and 1st and 2nd grade by basically almost all of my classmates for being different. First of all, I was white. Second of all, I was Christian and different. I dressed different. I looked different. And in 1st grade, I ended up getting glasses, which did not freaking help. I'm blonde. I'm, like, green-eyed. Like, I'm, everything about me screams different. My parents were extremely conservative, so the way that I dressed was extremely different. I wasn't allowed to change in front of my roommates, like my classmates. Like, one of the things when you're that young in public school, like, when you change for like pool or for like gym or whatever, everybody just changes in the classroom, and my parents were very conservative and they didn't allow that. So I always had to change in a separate space in, like, a closet or something. So there were so many things that just, like, made me different than everybody else. I believe I was also undiagnosed autistic, so there were just an overwhelming amount of factors that made me different and gave me a place to be bullied by my classmates. So I realized when I'm, like, looking back on this memory that this is the root. Like, this is the root of all of this paranoia that has followed me through my whole life up until this point. And there are so many other experiences that have added to this story, added to this confirmation that I'm going to be bullied or betrayed by the people that I love, or by friend groups and by majorities of people. Just this trauma cycle that's been going through my life. So it's cool because I got to meditate on that, and I was able to see and find a root trauma of this repetitive paranoid emotion and this intense fear of people and social anxiety and feeling of never being understood and never seen and never accepted and constantly rejected by people for some reason. So I can view this, and I will say that, like, I don't think all the time being able to see the root cause of basically your mental health problem is going to just fix the problem. I don't think it's necessarily gonna always just fix your brain and be like, oh wow, I know what's the cause, so I'm all better now. No, but I will say that it did help me refocus. It allowed me to kind of ground myself and be like, hey, there's a reason for this. Yes, what you're experiencing is very real and it's based in some truth, and I think it's good to acknowledge that so you are not just crazy making yourself or gaslighting your entire experience and disregarding your feelings and things that you've been through. I don't think that that is a good option. I think it's good to validate your experience and your emotions and what you're going through and what you have been through. But if you can find like the root of that and pour love into that child version of yourself, I genuinely do believe that it does create a cycle of healing in your life, and it helps me. I should redirect this to me because I do not want to say that this is gonna just be the same experience for everybody else. This is my experience with it. It helped ground me a little bit, so I find that I am doing better at pulling myself out of this paranoid episode. And when I feel that stuff rising and I feel that like, that person, like, whatever it might be, that fear that's rising and that grief that oftentimes comes out as anger. Sometimes when you feel anger towards people in your paranoid episodes, anger is a cover emotion for grief. So that is like a perfect call out for, hey, this has to do with a deeper sadness. This has to do with a deeper grief in your heart and if you're in your life that desperately wants to be seen and loved on. So when I start feeling that like trigger coming up towards somebody or that social anxiety, I remind myself, hey, people are not out to get you. People are not out to get you. And yes, you have been through some very traumatizing and negative experiences with people. And just because you've grown a lot does not mean that you're never going to go through negative experiences with people again. But at this time, it is good to try your best to believe in the good in others and to believe in the best in others. You can make a transformation in yourself, which means that other people can also transform their view of you and how the way that they treat you. I think that it is important to give people an opportunity to be their best selves. If people show you absolutely, and not just in your head show you, but show you on paper the worst version of themselves, that is a great time to confront that and possibly walk the fuck away from those people and remove them from your life in healthy ways. Please do not just turn this into abusing other people in your life because you feel hurt or that trauma wound being reopened. So yeah, this is my experience with paranoia, guys. I am not going to go into detail how intense the spirals can go sometimes. I think as a woman as well, there's often those fears like of men sometimes of being like kidnapped and like raped and all that, but that one I'm grateful to say does not happen as much. And maybe it's because I lived out of my car alone for 4 years that was more of a fear and a paranoia that I was able to work through more consistently after 4 years of experiencing this paranoia on and having it never happen. it definitely helped restabilize that. So give your life, and I'm talking to myself when I say this, Cherisse, give your life the opportunity to prove you wrong if you are experiencing paranoia or anxiety or fear about situations or people in your life. It doesn't mean that you're always going to believe the best and hope the best and be so positive about everything and everyone in your life all the time. It's okay to experience fear. And I know that oftentimes in the spiritual community, like fear and anxiety and paranoia get so much flack, and it's so belittled, and it's so like put down that like people like myself with mental health issues, where we deal with the uprising of this because we're normal humans. It's not that crazy to experience these things. We don't need anybody to put down those emotions. We actually need somebody to normalize it and say, hey, you can still have the life of your dreams and experience fear and anxiety and paranoia and overwhelm and negative emotions. You are still deserving and worthy of the life that you want for yourself, the love that you want for yourself, even if you are experiencing these things or disbelief or doubt. It's okay to have mental health issues. Yesterday, I was having a really bad panic attack, and my brother ended up coming home. It was like almost midnight, I think, and I usually deal with my panic attacks completely alone, and this is one of the few times probably in my life that like my brother asked if a hug would help, because I had kind of locked the dogs out of my room because I was just too overwhelmed to deal with them. I said yes, and he came in and he held me, and I was like, I just wish I wish I could be a normal person. I just want to be a normal person. And he said, you are a normal person. Everybody else just hides this better. And my response was like, yeah, everybody else functions so much better than me, it seems though. Like, but at the same time, like, I needed to hear that. I needed to feel less alienated for having mental health issues. I needed to feel less alienated for experiencing such severe and paranoia and anxiety. Because I'm alienating myself because I've been alienated by others. It's not just something that I do full self-will, like, you know, and there's a purpose, there's a reason why I'm doing this. Because in the past, I have not received the support and the love and the nurturing that I needed from a young age, from being a young child, which also has to do with my parents not being there for me. For a long time, I did not get to be held when I struggled with anxiety or depression or fear of people that I had every reason to be feeling. So I hope that if you're watching this, I'm assuming that you struggle with your own mental health issues. And I want to tell you what my brother told me yesterday. You are normal. Yes, you are unique and special, like we both are. I'm never gonna be just like normal. I'm a weirdo. Get out of here. Like, you can be a weirdo too, but you are a normal person. If you're experiencing any of these negative feelings, I'm so sorry that you did not receive the love and the compassion and the nurturing that you needed and you deserved ever since you were a little girl or boy. Because that's probably where it started. For most of us, I want to say that that's where it started. Not receiving that as a child. Those rejection and those abandonment wounds begin very young. And we all deserve to have a feeling of safety. Yes, safety is never guaranteed in life. Bad things happen sometimes. People die. Sometimes you hurt yourself. Sometimes you have panic attacks. Sometimes depression hits. Sometimes you have rough financial seasons. Sometimes you lose your friends. Sometimes you get rejected. But you deserve to be held during those times. You deserve to be comforted. You deserve to have somebody tell you that it is perfectly normal and natural to be feeling and going through the things that you're going through. So that is it, you guys. This is a little bit of a longer video, so if you stuck through this, I'm glad that you did, because then you got to hear that little bit of encouragement to each of you. I believe in you. I believe in you so much. You're doing better than you think that you are, seriously. And I tell myself this all the time, and I don't necessarily always believe it. Like I said, I've been having a lot of panic attacks lately, but you are. If you're here, you're doing a lot better than you think you are, and I'm proud of you for that. So I love you, I believe in you, and I hope that you have an amazing and beautiful day. Thank you for being here. Oh, also please like and subscribe. All right, I love you guys. Bye.